Welcome to a quiet place where history moves slowly. Here, every story is told gently, every detail whispered softly, so your mind can rest and drift as we explore the past together. Now take a breath, relax, and let's begin. Tonight we begin a long, peaceful journey, a journey that will last hours, moving gently through time, from the first villages near the Nile to the rise of kings and the whisper of ancient temples. Pause. Imagine the Nile before Egypt existed. Just water, moving slowly under a warm sun. Silent, steady, eternal. Thousands of years before the pyramids, small groups of people followed the river. They watched the water rise every year, leaving rich, dark soil behind, perfect for growing barley, emmer wheat, and flax. Every sunrise felt the same, soft, quiet, golden. You can picture them. Simple reed huts, boats carved from single logs, fishermen pushing gently across calm water, mothers grinding grain with smooth stones, children running barefoot along the riverbank. Slow breath. Life moved at the pace of the river, never rushed, never loud, always calm. And as centuries passed, tiny villages grew into towns, and towns into early kingdoms. People looked to their leaders for guidance, for safety, for order. And slowly, the idea of Egypt was born. Soft drift. The sky was wide, the nights quiet, and each season followed the last. Like a heartbeat, this is the dawn of ancient Egypt, and you are drifting slowly into it. Hundreds of years passed. Quietly, steadily, two lands existed. Upper Egypt in the south, and Lower Egypt in the north. Two crowns, two peoples, one river connecting them. Around 3100 BC, a leader emerged. His name was Narmer, or perhaps Menes. History whispers the name, never loudly. He united the two lands, and Egypt took its first calm breath. As a single kingdom, the double crown was created, one part white, one part red, symbolizing balance. Life changed slowly, peacefully. A court formed, scribes learned the earliest hieroglyphs, and artisans shaped the first royal objects, from ivory, gold, and stone. Imagine the quiet palace halls, the soft scratching of reed pens on clay palettes, the whisper of sandals on polished floors. Egypt was young, but steady, like the Nile beside it. Long pause. This unification began the early dynastic period, a time when ideas took shape, cities grew, and the foundation for pyramids was quietly being prepared. Chapter 3: Life in the Early Kingdom. To understand Egypt, we slow down and step into an ordinary day. Far from the palaces, picture a farmer waking at dawn, the sky turning pink above the river. He stretches, washes his face in cool water, and thanks the gods for the flood that nourishes his land. His wife grinds grain for bread, soft rhythmic sounds filling the morning air. Children chase each other between mud brick homes. Dogs bark lazily. Birds glide along the reeds. The Nile glitters like a long ribbon of light. Life is not hurried, not pressured. It is steady, predictable, comforting. At night, families sit under starlight, listening to stories about gods and spirits, about Ra's daily journey across the sky, and the great serpent he battles. As the world sleeps, time moves slowly here, just like tonight, as your mind drifts deeper into the gentle rhythm of history. Now, let's drift gently into Egypt's old kingdom, a time when stone rose toward the sky, when kings dreamed in limestone and granite, and the desert glowed gold under the warm sun. Slow breath. The Old Kingdom began around 2686 BC, but dates don't matter here. What matters is the feeling of a world taking shape, with patience and quiet confidence. Imagine the early morning desert, cool air, soft sand, the horizon still silver blue, and workers walking slowly to their sites, carrying tools worn smooth from years of use. This was the age when the first pyramids appeared, not rushed, not chaotic, but built with slow, steady hands, guided by generations of planning and devotion. Chapter 5: Djoser and the First Pyramid. Before the Great Pyramids of Giza, there was a different kind of structure, not smooth-sided, but rising step by step, like a staircase reaching for the heavens. This was the step pyramid of Djoser, designed by the wise architect Imhotep. Picture him standing quietly upon the desert plateau, studying the angles of sunlight, listening to the wind, feeling the patience of the sands beneath his feet. He had a vision to transform a simple mastaba tomb into a towering monument. Workers hauled blocks, one at a time, the sound of stone on stone, echoing softly in the morning air. No shouting, no rushing, just steady movements, footsteps, breathing, and the gentle hum of labor. As months passed, and then years, the structure grew, a single level, then another, and another, until 6 tiers reached toward the sky. It became Egypt's first Great Pyramid, and the desert around it fell into a respectful silence. Let's slow down and walk beside an ordinary worker at one of these ancient sites. He rises before the sun in a simple village built near the construction area. His home is small, mud brick, cool in the morning air. His wife hands him bread and a small jar of beer, a breakfast that carries him through the day. He walks with others, friends, brothers, neighbors, all part of the same quiet rhythm. At the site, the foreman's voice is calm. He gives instructions, not with anger, but with practiced patience. Blocks are shaped with copper chisels, dusted smooth with sand, and lifted with ropes made of woven fibers. Each motion is familiar, repeated thousands of times, until body and mind move in harmony. During a break, workers sit in the shade and talk softly about their families, their fields, the next festival. The work is hard, but not frantic. It is steady, predictable, almost meditative, and always, the desert wind whispers through the scaffolding, Sneferu and the art of perfection. As time drifted on, a new king rose, Nefer, a ruler of gentle temperament and great ambition. He wanted pyramids, unlike anything ever seen. His architects experimented, learning from mistakes, improving, adjusting, slowly perfecting the art of pyramid construction. First came the bent pyramid, its angle changing midway, like a mountain softened by the breeze. Then the red pyramid, smooth and steady, glowing in the sun, like a giant block of glowing gold. Imagine the hush around these enormous structures, the cool shadow they cast on the quiet sands, the awe felt by workers as they stepped back to admire their creation. Snefer's pyramids were beautiful, silent messages carved into the earth. They prepared the way for something even greater. Now, slowly, gently, we drift into the time of the most famous pyramids in the world, the Giza Plateau, a broad, open stretch of desert overlooking the Nile, flat, sunlit, with a view that stretched across the horizon. Here, 3 great kings planned their eternal homes, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. Let's walk quietly through this sacred landscape. The sound of the wind, soft, constant, the scent of limestone dust, warm in the air, the distant hum of thousands of workers moving in slow practice motions. Khufu's pyramid rose first, the largest, the calm giant of Egypt, smooth-sided, geometrically perfect, each stone placed with precision and steady breath. It took decades, not rushed years, but long patient decades. And when the final capstone was gently lowered into place, the entire plateau seemed to pause in silent admiration. Khafre's pyramid stood nearby, slightly smaller, but built on higher ground, giving it a proud silhouette against the sky. The Great Sphinx watched over it, the face calm, serene, carved from a single block of stone. Menkaure's pyramid, smaller still, completed the trio, 3 shapes rising peacefully from the ancient sands. Together, they formed a perfect harmony, a slow, steady song of stone and human devotion. Night falls over Giza. As the sun set each evening, workers returned to their villages. The air cooled, sand shifted quietly, torches flickered on the plateau. Priests walked slowly, Around the site, whispering prayers, offering small bowls of incense that smelled of cedar and myrrh. The pyramids glowed faintly in the moonlight, silent, still, timeless. You can imagine yourself there, standing in the cool desert night, the stars bright above you, the pyramids rising like calm mountains against the sky. It is peaceful, reassuring, ancient, just like the slow rhythm that carries you deeper into rest. Let's drift now, away from the pyramids, into the quiet heart of everyday Egyptian life. Soft pause. Imagine a small village, close to the riverbank, dozens of mud brick houses, a narrow path winding between them, palm trees swaying slowly in the warm breeze. The day begins before sunrise. A farmer steps out of his home. He breathes deeply, the air warm and sweet with the scent of the river. His simple linens brush softly against his skin. His wife is behind him, kneading dough for the day's bread, her hands moving in quiet practice motions. Children chase each other in the soft dust, their laughter light, their footsteps quick and gentle. The farmer moves toward the fields, walking slowly along an irrigation canal, dug with care by generations before him. He sees the morning sun touch the water and turn it to shimmering gold. This is Egypt's rhythm, steady, gentle, predictable, a life lived in harmony with the Nile, tools, crafts, and calm hands. Now, let's slow down and walk into a small workshop. Inside, a potter sits at his wheel, his hands wet with clay, his movements circular, smooth, unrushed. He shapes bowls, jars, and tiny vessels with the same quiet patience his father taught him years ago. Next door, a carpenter sands a simple stool. Each stroke of his tool makes a soft, soothing sound. A weaver sits nearby, her loom clicking gently as she creates linen, thin as the breeze. These crafts were the heartbeat of Egypt. Not grand, not loud, but steady and essential. The sound of work was like a lullaby, soft tapping, light carving, hushed conversation. The eternal cycle of the Nile. Egypt lived on a simple circle, flood, planting, harvest. Every year, the river rose. Between July and October, dark, rich water covered the fields. Farmers waited patiently as the land drank deeply. Then came planting season, a time of hope. Men pressed seeds into soft earth. Women brought water in clay jars to moisten new sprouts. Children followed geese along the riverbank, laughing softly. After months of care, the crops grew tall, wheat waving gently in the warm wind. And then, harvest. Sickles made of flint cut through the stalks. With a soft, repetitive whisper, bundles were lifted, decked, and stored with care. This cycle never changed. It was reliable, coming, as predictable as sunrise. For the Egyptians, it meant life, and for us tonight, it becomes a slow rhythm, guiding you deeper into peace. Beliefs carried on gentle breath. Egyptians believed their world was filled with protective spirits, gods of light, of earth, of water. But these weren't frightening figures. They were comforting, familiar presences that watched over daily life. Earth, the sun god, rose each morning in a golden boat and drifted across the sky. Every sunset, he slipped quietly into the underworld, sailing through its peaceful darkness to be reborn again. At dawn, Osiris taught the world about rebirth and kindness. His story reminded Egyptians that life continues softly, even after death. Isis was the motherly presence, beloved, gentle, protector of families. Hathor brought joy, music, and comfort. Priestesses played soft harps in her name, notes rising slowly in cool temple halls. Thoth watched over knowledge, scribe, and the written word. Each god stood like a calming presence. In the Egyptian mind, nothing rushed, nothing harsh, just a quiet belief in order and balance. Let's step slowly into a simple house. The ceilings are low, the walls cool, a faint smell of fresh bread lingers in the air. A clay lamp flickers softly. In the corner, a family sits together on woven mats. The father, tired but calm. The mother, braiding a basket. The children, listening to a gentle story about a crocodile spirit who guarded the river. A pot of lentils simmers quietly over a small fire. Every few minutes, someone stirs it with a wooden spoon. At night, the family sleeps on mats, stuffed with reeds. A breeze moves through the window. The moon casts pale light on the still room. Outside, donkeys bray softly. The Nile flows in the distance, unseen but always heard. Egypt sleeps. You can feel the quiet, the warm safety, the deep simplicity of life. The noble estates and gentle luxury. Not everyone lived simply. Some Egyptians, nobles, administrators, high officials, had larger homes, with gardens and pools. But even here, life was not loud. It was refined, peaceful, carefully arranged. Imagine walking through a small courtyard. Lotus flowers float in a shallow pond. Palm trees sway. A gardener moves slowly, watering plants with a clay jar. Inside, rooms are decorated with soft colors, blue, ochre, red, telling stories of daily life and gentle moments. Servants move quietly, carrying bread, beer, fruits sweetened by the sun. Everything is slow. Everything is deliberate. Even luxury, in Old Kingdom Egypt, was calm. The scribes, keepers of order. Now, let's sit with a scribe in the shade of a cool stone building. He holds a wooden palette with 2 cakes of pigment, black and red. His reed pen, soft at the tip, moves slowly across a sheet of fresh papyrus. He writes carefully, laws, prayer, inventory lists, royal decrees. The sound of his strokes is light, dry, almost like sand, sliding across stone. Scribes were respected, not for strength, but for patience, calm, and clarity. Before the grand temples of the New Kingdom, there were early sanctuaries, smaller, simpler, but filled with gentle devotion. Picture a stone courtyard. Torches flicker. A priest walks slowly, carrying a bowl of incense. The smoke rises in delicate curls, sweet with frankincense and myrrh. Inside the shrine, a statue of the god sits in peaceful silence, not frightening, but protective. Priests open the doors each morning, wash the statue with clean water, and dress it in linen, soft as river mist. The rituals are slow, methodical, full of calm. Even the beating of sacred drums is steady and soothing, a heartbeat echoing through the stone walls. Temples were sanctuaries of peace, just like this narration. Soft, rhythmic, timeless. Time drifts forward slowly into a period called the Middle Kingdom. It begins after centuries of quiet change, when Egypt faced small divisions, and then gently came back together. Think of it like a river, which, after branching, flows again as one. Kings ruled, not with haste or harshness, but with calm intention. They restored order, repaired temples, and encouraged learning. People felt safe again, as if the Nile itself whispered, "All is steady, all is calm." Slow pause. The land grew fertile once more. Small towns along the river expanded with gentle care. Markets opened slowly in the mornings, merchants calling softly as they arranged pottery and linen. Imagine a quiet morning in Thebes, a city not yet as grand as it will become, but alive with calm movement. A woman walks along the canal, balancing a clay jar on her head. Her steps are careful, measured, her thoughts peaceful. Nearby, a fisherman leans over the riverbank. The line drifts slowly in the water. A bird lands on the reed. The water glimmers, reflecting sunlight in gentle waves. Children play nearby, soft laughter carried by the breeze. No hurry, no loud disruptions, just the rhythm of daily life. In this period, pharaohs like Amenemhat I and Senusret III focused on thoughtful governance. They built fortresses along the Nile, not to conquer, but to protect. They commissioned works of art, calm statues, serene carvings, and writing that reflected wisdom. more than power. Imagine a king walking slowly through his palace, observing the courtyards, smiling quietly at the gardens, listening to birdsong, feeling the steady pulse of the kingdom. Every decree was measured, every decision thoughtful, like a slow breath. Chapter 21, Literature and Wisdom. The Middle Kingdom is known for its wisdom. Scribes wrote gently, poems, teachings, reflections. Texts like the instructions of Tahotep offered calm advice. Speak softly, listen carefully, treat others with respect. Imagine a young scribe learning in a quiet schoolroom, the soft scratch of a reed pen on papyrus, the gentle murmur of words, the slow turning of pages. Learning here was not stressful, but a careful, patient practice, like drawing a line in sand and watching the tide smooth it. Chapter 22, Travel along the Nile. The river remained central. Boats drifted slowly along its waters, sails flapping gently in the breeze. A merchant might transport grain, a noble might journey to a temple, and children watched the reflections of clouds in the water. The banks were alive, but quiet. Papyrus reeds rustling softly, fishermen casting lines, birds gliding low over calm waves. Nightfall brought soft light over the water. Lanterns reflected gently in rippling waves.